Hobbs Kessler. This is our first interview. It's great to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too.
So, I remember watching that first Paul Doyle meet, and you ran, I think, a 357. What was your PB before that?
For 1600, like 418 or 419, so it'd be like a 421 mile.
And you'd been training with Nick?
Yeah.
Willis?
Yeah.
And then Ronnie was your coach, right? Or was your dad your coach for a while too?
Yeah, Ronnie, he was my coach since my junior year of high school, but they kind of to this day, kind of collaborate. My dad kind of fills in some of Ronnie's less organized moments, fills in gaps.
That happens a little bit. What's your dad's name?
Mike.
Mike. And is Mike coach high school still?
Yeah, he coaches high school, and he's an assistant coach for the Very Nice Track Club.
Oh, cool. So you're now a member of the Very Nice Track Club. How are you enjoying that experience?
Oh, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a real privilege to be a part of. So I got to start getting coached by Ronnie in high school, and at first I was just kind of doing workouts by myself and with some other high schoolers, and eventually I got fit enough where I could start hopping in with some of the pros he coached, and it just kind of evolved from there.
Did you consider going to college?
Yeah, so I was up until June 2021 committed to going to Northern Arizona to run under Mike Smith.
Yeah.
And that I ended up going pro instead because I had the opportunity to sign with Adidas.
I really enjoyed watching you run that 1500. What do you remember about that race where you set the U.S. junior record?
I remember a lot about it. At that point, I had a decent amount of experience in pro races,
Yeah.
and I kind of learned from my mistakes in the past. I'd been pretty tentative. I'd go straight to the back, hold on, and I just remember being on the starting line, I'd be I'm gonna put myself in this race. I really wanted to get the Olympic trial standard, and I knew I wasn't gonna do it from the back.
Yeah.
So I remember getting off the line, but everyone just got off way faster than me for some reason. But I was all right, I'm getting in position, I'm going up front. So around the first bend, I swung wide, ran in lane 2 or 3, and was able to get into position, maybe 4th or 5th, and then got shuffled around, ran lane 2. It wasn't a super clean race, but I just remember coming around the bend and just having an extra gear and just I seen the clock 2 minutes ago, all right, I got the trial standard, and just going and trying to catch my teammate Mason, who was ahead of me at the time. I'm I gotta get Mason, and coming home, and then I was looking over at the clock, finishing. I was I didn't believe it. It was almost too much. It was too big of a jump. It was pretty mind blowing. I remember going to sleep at night, and I probably only slept an hour. I was probably up till 4. And
Wow.
I only slept a little bit, just because I was so excited. My mind was kind of racing, but it was crazy.
What was your PB before the 334?
340.
Wow. Okay, yeah. And didn't you tell Mason you were going to beat him before the? What was the deal?
I'm sure there's a lot of trash
Morgan
talk.
was saying something that you guys like to trash talk, and that
Yeah.
that you were saying something about, because Morgan said to me that I asked him what his goals are, and he said to have to beat you in an 800. And he said, but he did say that you have a faster 800. What's your 800 PB?
346 high, 146 high.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
I'm hoping to improve on that this year.
Okay. What's the toughest part of being an elite athlete?
I would say, for me, just being on the younger side is managing, expectations and pressure, and just realizing progress isn't always linear.
Yeah.
But I just have a unique situation, so there's kind of a lot to navigate with it. So just being patient and kind to myself, as I make mistakes and learn.
So I was following you. You opened this season with 1,000 meters, and then I was watching some of your guys' workouts where you're doing 1,000-meter hills, and then you had 300-meter hills, and then you had some repeats. So Ronnie will just throw the kitchen sink at you guys pretty much. Do you want to know what the entire workout is before a workout, or are you pretty just, hey, give me what you got?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Ronnie is like has a pretty unique coaching style. He's very collaborative with his athletes. Like he wants everyone like to be doing what they think they should be doing. So like every 3 weeks or so, we'll sit down. He's like, hey, here's what I got for you. Like, what do you think? And I was like, hey, like I think I want to be like, what do you think about doing adding a little more speed work here, a little more strength work here, or like going on Friday instead of Saturday here. And so it's like really collaborative. So we kind of like put our heads together. I'm like what we should do. So like it's not like Ronnie does everything. I just listen. Like it's like kind of like a back and forth. He's really unique in that way.
And you like that?
Yeah, it just was like I don't know, for whatever reason, like I just really like to have a little control over my training, and that's just like Ronnie's just like that's just his style, and that's how he always did it with Nick, and so for some people are just wired like that. So obviously at the end of the day, like I understand like Ronnie is like he knows he's got so much knowledge of the sport, so I really trust him. But again, he really athlete feedback is a big part of his system, his program. So I like kind of know what every 3 weeks are. So
talk to me about 2022. What were the high points? What were the tough points in 2022?
Yeah, it was a hard year. Pretty much my whole running career, like I just got better and better and better. Like I just got fitter. Like I was always better than I was before. So it maybe was the first time like I didn't see progress. So that was a little scary. Or I shouldn't say progress. I didn't see like improvement in my times. Or like drastic. Like I wasn't like head and shoulders above where I was in the past.
Yeah. So what we were talking about was your 2022 season. You said that you. It was the first time you hadn't improved. You improved your times.
Yeah, just like I hadn't seen like the biggest leaps in progress. So, and that was like a little scary. But part of the reason with that is I broke my foot. I had a stress fracture in my metatarsal.
Yeah.
So I was gone from late February to the beginning of April. I didn't run a step in a boot. So it was my first ever injury. So that like was a huge learning experience. Learning to navigate that, learning cross training, all of that.
How'd you like cross training?
I mean, I'd rather run.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But if it's what I gotta do.
Yeah.
So it's part of the job. But that was pretty hard to deal with at first. Like it's just like it's something new, and like I don't know, like a lot of like 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds just think they're indestructible. So I guess I kind of learned I was mortal. But I never like really had like the same pace. I ended up running 3:36 at pre-classic. And maybe that was like probably 6 weeks after returning to running. So I was happy to get relatively fit pretty quickly. Then before USA's, so that was a high point. I mean, 3:36 is pretty close to 3:34. Like that showed me it's there.
Yeah.
Especially like with pretty interrupted training. I had a really rough USA's. Just didn't really quite have the strength, and the weeks leading up to it, I was just having like iron issues. Like I wasn't good about my iron intake. And, that was a mistake I made. Like I didn't. I kind of like slacked on my supplementation of iron. So I was fine by the time USA's rolled around, but I just wasn't great at my preparation. But after that, I was pretty upset. I really wanted to make the best of the rest of the season. So I took like 3-4 days off. Then I trained really hard for a month. And that helped. That was right when Morgan joined the team.
Yeah.
So he was great to train with and added a bunch of energy. And so I hit it pretty hard for 4 or 5 weeks, and then raced a road mile. Then went over to Europe and ran 3:36 again, and I ran 1:46 in the 800 and 2:16 in 1,000 meters to set the American junior record in that. So it's 4th all-time junior. So I was pretty proud of that. And then unfortunately, like my last race of the season, like for whatever reason, it's just like I just had a really rough race and like didn't have my legs under me. So that was a pretty bitter way to end, but it was a huge year of learning for me. As disappointing as it was, I wouldn't trade it for anything because I learned so many lessons, and I made, I guess, so many mistakes that were inevitable. I was going to make them, so glad to get him out of the way at 19,
Sure.
so I can move forward with the rest of my career. But I'm looking forward to a better 2023.
How has 2023 gone for you so far? How do you see that?
It's kind of been some ups and downs. I had a really good fall and early winter. I missed one session
Wow.
in 5 months.
Yeah.
Like I hit every weight session, I hit every run, every double, every interval. I was super consistent because I realized like that was the key to my long-term success, is just consistent training, missing as few days as possible. So I raced a few U of M home meets, pretty loaded with training. Like I was training really hard, high mileage, like really big workouts.
What's high mileage for you?
Like 75 miles a week. But it's 75 miles like with two a really high volume of quality.
Yeah.
And pretty hard lifting in there. So my legs are pretty loaded, so I was happy to like run some good home meets at U of M. And then I ran a 3,000 meters that I was really proud of at BU.
How fast did you go?
I ran 7:39 flat.
Awesome.
So that was like a really big stepping stone because I knew I wouldn't have been able to do that any other time in my life.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really focused on was developing like my aerobic strength.
Yeah.
And working on my weaknesses. So that was a huge step in the right direction. I was really proud of that. And then I caught some sort of some bug and was out for the next month. I tried racing at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix. Like,
Yeah, I saw you there.
I pushed it to the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm not sick. Like, this has happened before where I felt sick before a race, and it was like, you're just like, don't worry about it. Like, just get through the race. Like, who knows? Like, I could like crush it and run 350.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. I was definitely sick. So I had a really bad race, and that was really upsetting for me. And then I wasn't able to run for maybe 5 days after that. Like, so it's been a pretty rough February. I just have a really hard time kicking this virus. But I think I'm over the hump now and ready for like to get preparing for outdoors. But it was really disappointing to be in such good form and not put together like a good mile, which is kind of my specialty.
What's your favorite distance?
Probably the 1,500 meters.
Yeah. What have you learned from Nick Willis?
I've learned a lot. I guess one of the big things is just like is how to work within the system. Like there's a lot of different ways to get to the same place. And I don't know, Nick's taught me a lot. Like I'll call him every week or so, like with a different question, whether it's like a lifestyle, like how to manage my life, or like a technical training question, like how hey, like I think like I gotta back off the speed work. What do you think? Like this is what Ronnie thinks. Like look, Ronnie, I just looking for like a third opinion. So he's really helpful, but seeing his longevity was pretty inspiring. So like, I hope to be able to have a similar long career.
Now, is he living on the East Coast now?
Yep. So he's still living in Michigan.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah.
Is he training still?
No, he's got I guess he got a 6-month-old baby and just moved house, and he's a pretty busy guy.
Oh, that's good for him. Good for him. What are your goals for 2023?
Keep improving. I really want to make the world team. I think I'm like at a stage in my development. Like last year was a learning year. This year I've learned from my mistakes, and like I don't see why I shouldn't be on the team. Mm-hmm. I just gotta keep preparing. That's all I can do.
What's the toughest part of the rounds for you in the 1500?
Well, I've historically had a pretty tough time with the rounds. Both times just kind of been rough for various reasons. So I'm learning. It's like that tactical race experience is tricky, and like you kind of got to make your mistakes and learn the hard way sometimes. So I don't know what the hardest part is, but I know I don't want to get kicked out of the heats again at USA. It's like I want to put that chapter of my life behind me.
So who was your favorite Michigan high school athlete?
High school athlete? That's a good question.
When you were coming, did you have a role model, guys that you looked up to?
I guess not particularly like a role model. They're definitely guys I had a lot of respect for, but I never saw any reason I couldn't compete with them.
Okay. So you and Morgan are driving up to Flagstaff, and you got a couple months of training there. Are you looking forward to that?
Very much so, yeah.
Now, have you been to altitude training before?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Flagstaff for the last year and a half or so. I've probably spent like combined maybe 7 or 8 months.
You like it up there?
Yeah, I love it up there. Great community, great running, like great just mountain city.
What do you focus mostly on mileage when you're up there, or do you do mileage and quality?
Yeah, I'm like a big believer in like running lots of threshold running.
Yeah.
And so is Ronnie. So I try to like, I run a lot. I run a lot of threshold, and I lift a lot of heavy weights.
Give me an example of a threshold workout.
Well, there's a few different ways Ronnie structures it. Whether it just be mile repeats comfortably off a short rest, 400-meter repeats off a short rest, like an 8-mile run, like for time. Not so much a threshold workout, but the Michigan is a great strength workout. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but it's really like not sexy or complicated. You just gotta like spend a lot of time running moderately fast, but not too fast.
So if you're doing a mile repeats at threshold, can you give me an idea of the pace?
Yeah, so I typically run at sea level probably around 4:50 to 5 minutes. And then at altitude maybe 5 minutes to 5:15.
And what's the break in between each mile?
It's pretty short, so I would say under 2 minutes, depending on the interval. But it like doesn't really matter. It's just more about the volume, and like you kind of limit the amount of volume you can do if you go too fast and your heart rate gets too high.
So if you were doing, so it'd be 5 times a mile for a threshold, or 4?
I would probably do more, like probably like 8 or 9.
So you do 8 or 9, say at altitude about 5:05, 5:10, and then maybe a 2-minute jog in between?
Yeah, a minute, 2 minute, or sometimes Ryan will have me break it up into a morning and evening session.
Okay.
But it's kind of a newer thing we're experimenting. We only started doing it last fall because I just found traditionally Ronnie's coaches athletes, he's done more like steady state running. So whether that be like 4, 5, 6 mile tempos, which I still think are incredibly useful, but we kind of discovered that I was able to get more volume in if I gave myself a really short rest, like even 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I would have like this. I would be able to do 8 by a mile and have the same fatigue if I did a 4 or 5 mile tempo like straight through. So they both have their place, but we've just been able to find little things that allow me to increase the volume.
What kind of weight work do you do?
I lift twice a week, pretty heavy. I have a strength coach. He coaches like a really good British runner. He's out of England. We do a lot of like plyometrics, a lot of jumping, a lot of bouncing, and we like do a lot of heavy lifts. So it's nothing special, nothing really sexy, but I've noticed like really big benefits from it. We only started doing it. I added in the fall. I realized it was something I was missing from my regimen. So Ronnie and I looked around, and Jake Whiteman recommended his strength coach, and obviously Jake like won the world championship. So I'm like, all right, like I trust your recommendation, Jake. And his name's Andy, and he's been super great and made a huge impact on my running.
Cool. Is it free weights that you do?
Pardon?
Free weights? Or do you use machines and stuff
Not
too?
so much, like mostly like squats, hip thrusts, trap bar deadlifts, stuff like that. Weighted lunges, and then along with like some stability work and like core, but mostly like it's centered around like jumping, plyometrics, and heavy lifts.
What's the hardest distance for you to race?
I'd imagine 5K.
Yeah. Have you done that? You haven't done that yet?
No, I'd really like to. But we'll see. It might be another year. Ronnie kind of wants me to hold off on running the 5K. But I don't find any like particular distance harder than another. It's more like a different type of challenge, a different type of hard.
Do you like the 800 distance?
I love the 800. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have time goals for this year?
Not particularly. I would really like to run a good 8 under 146. That would be really happy with that. Under 145, which I think is possible, I'd be ecstatic with. I'm more of a strength-based guy, but I still have like the natural speed. And I really think the key for me running a good mile will be running a good 800 or running a good 3K.
Yeah.
So I've done the 3K. I know the strength's there. And I was able to run 146 last year, like kind of with an imperfect year, and without any lifting, which I think will make a huge difference in my 800 this year.
Tell me about the 7:39. How did you feel during that race?
I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty hard. It was the same race Yard Debut set the American record.
Oh yeah.
And Drew Bosley set the collegiate record. And I'm gonna be honest, I really wanted to beat Drew. I was talking a lot of trash with him before. He's a good friend of mine. But I was really happy to see him break the record. But it got out. I was out in 2:01, and I was like, all right, this doesn't feel so bad. But then, like, I went through a mile in 4:03. I'm like, all right, this is like getting a little hard. I went through the 2K in 5:04.
Wow.
And kind of got caught in no man's land. So I kind of had a tough few laps there. It's like 31s and 32 and 132 that like, kind of prevented me from going a little faster. Like I had a slow last K.
Yeah.
But I kind of hung on for dear life, and I was still really happy with my performance.
That's cool.
And it's just a sign like the training I've been doing like has been working, and it's something like it's like that's like a newfound strength. And this was the only time in high school I never would have been able to do it, or even last year. So just proof like I respond really well to the strength training.
Hobbs, it's been great meeting you. That you've survived 23 minutes with me in your first interview, so that's pretty darn good. I look forward to hearing how you and Morgan fare. I'll be watching social media, so you guys got to put some stuff up. Do you have any races yet you're thinking about for outdoors? Have you kind of considered anything yet, or is it still a little too early?
It's a little too early. I'm going to be racing the Adidas Road Games, I believe it's called. It's on May 6th.
In Atlanta?
It's
okay,
in Atlanta,
good.
So I'm
okay.
racing a road mile there.
Cool.
So I'm really excited to do that. Adidas is like going to put on a pretty cool event there. So I'm really excited to race in that. And beyond that, we're going to play it by ear.
Hobbs Kessler, thank you very much. This is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun. We just interviewed Hobbs Kessler. He is the U.S. junior record holder at the 1500, and he just ran a 7:39 for the 3000. And let's see what if he can beat Morgan Beatlescombe in the 800 this season. That'll be the important stuff.
It's on, Morgan.
Thanks a lot, man.